February 1st, 1979. Tehran's streets were no longer streets. They were scars. Torn posters of the Shah fluttered in the wind, trampled underfoot. His statues, once proud, lay shattered in the dust. Smoke curled from burning tires, stinging the eyes of those who dared to gather. The man who once lounged in gold-draped palaces, sipping wine with world leaders, was now a fugitive, scrambling, suitcase in hand, rejected by his so-called allies. No country wanted him, not America, not Europe, not even his neighbors. The air was thick with betrayal. And just when it seemed Iran might choke on its own silence, a sound pierced the chaos. It wasn't just one voice. It rose from rooftops across Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Mashhad, from cracked windows and shadowed alleys. It wasn't just faith, it was defiance, a warning. The revolution had arrived. In the streets, boots stomped, ropes tightened. Some were dragged to their fate. Some hung. Others stood frozen, watching, hearts pounding. And at the heart of this storm stood one man, Ayatollah Khomeini. Now close your eyes and imagine this. He wasn't a warlord with tanks, not a prince with a crown, not a tycoon with billions. He was an old man in black robes, his face weathered, his voice steady but burning with conviction. No armies, no weapons, just words. Words that spread like wildfire. Khomeini didn't return to Iran with guns. He returned with tapes, cassettes smuggled across borders, hidden in bread baskets, tucked inside Qurans. Taxi drivers played them in secret, the hum of his voice blending with the engine's growl. Barbers whispered his sermons, scissors snipping in rhythm. Even children, too young to understand, knew the voice that crackled through the night. Khomeini. How did a man, exiled and hunted, shape a nation's future from thousands of miles away? Let's rewind. Picture Iran in the 60s and 70s. It shimmered like a mirage. Neon-lit cities pulsed with Western fashion, miniskirts, bell-bottoms, American cars. Foreign advisors sipped coffee in Tehran's cafes, while hotels boasted chandeliers and promises of progress. The Shah called it the White Revolution. Land reforms, schools, factories, a modern Iran. But beneath the gloss, the truth bled. Farmers watched their fields handed to faceless corporations. Clerics were told to shut up or disappear. And anyone who dared speak out, Savak, the Shah's secret police, was always listening. A knock at midnight, a blindfold, a scream that no one would hear. Torture chambers hummed. People vanished, no trials, no questions. Iran looked rich, but it was rotting from the inside. Then in 1963, a voice broke through, not with gunfire, but with a sermon. Ayatollah Khomeini stood in a Qom mosque, his eyes locked on the horizon, and spoke words that cut like a blade. "You've sold Iran to America. You've sold our faith." The crowd held its breath. His words weren't just a speech, they were a spark. The Shah's response was swift. Khomeini was arrested, his robes yanked as they dragged him away, then exiled, first to Turkey, then to Iraq. The regime thought they'd silenced him. Out of sight, out of mind. They were wrong. In a modest house near Najaf, Khomeini didn't fade. He roared louder. His weapon? A cassette recorder. His army? The people who carried his voice. Tapes poured into Iran like contraband, hidden in suitcases, slipped under market stalls, passed hand to hand in the dark. Mosques played them after prayers, the crackle of his voice mingling with the call to prayer. Housewives listened in secret, their hands trembling as they pressed play. Students copied them, tape by tape, spreading his words like a virus. Khomeini wasn't just preaching faith. He was speaking to the forgotten, the farmers who lost their land, the mothers who lost their sons, the youth who saw no future. He gave their anger a name and their hope a face. In 1978, The Shah leaned on Saddam Hussein to kick Khomeini out of Iraq. And then came the twist no one expected. Khomeini didn't flee to another Muslim country. He landed in a quiet French village, Neaufle-le-Château. Picture it, an old cleric in a modest cottage, surrounded by apple orchards, speaking to the world. From there, he turned exile into power. Western journalists flocked to him, microphones ready. His tapes kept flowing, now amplified by global media. He wasn't just a preacher anymore, he was a revolution's architect. Back in Iran, the streets were a furnace. Tabriz burned with protests. Qom mourned its martyrs. Tehran's air was thick with tear gas and rage. Every death sparked a funeral. Every funeral sparked a riot. Savak fired into crowds, but the people didn't scatter. For every one they killed, 10 more rose, fists clenched, voices raw. The Shah tried to save himself. He went on TV, his face pale, his voice breaking. "I hear you," he said, tears in his eyes. But the people weren't listening. They were waiting for him. February 1st, 1979. A commercial Air France plane touched down in Tehran. No tanks, no soldiers, just a man in black robes stepping onto the tarmac. The city erupted. Millions flooded the streets. Old men wept. Young women climbed trees to catch a glimpse. Mothers held their babies high, whispering, "You'll grow up free." 10 days later, the Shah's regime crumbled. The army laid down its guns. The prime minister fled. And Khomeini? He stood at the heart of it all, calm as a storm's eye, now the supreme leader of a new Islamic republic. But revolutions don't end with victory. A new dawn brought new shadows. Books were burned. TV screens went dark with censorship. Opponents vanished again, this time in the name of faith. Ropes tightened once more. Thousands faced execution. Women, once free to choose, were draped in mandatory veils. The Shah's Savak was gone, but a new kind of control, Sharia, took its place. The king was dead, but the silence lingered. Ayatollah Khomeini didn't just return to Iran, he reshaped its soul. To some, he was a savior, lifting a nation from tyranny. To others, he was a tyrant in a cleric's robes, trading one cage for another. One truth stands. Iran before him danced to music. Iran after him echoed with chants. So what do you think? Was this a revolution or a replacement? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story stirred something in you, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Tailbuzz for more. Next up, the Shah's $100 million party, the night he lost his crown